We often always release videos around positive areas that we can try and get you improving on the track and off the track. Strategies, setups, boosts, get more coins, you name it, we try and cover it. But only on few occasions we do videos where we want to see things change and we want to look at some of the negative sides of the F1 Clash season so far. So obviously we're in the F1 Clash 2024 season. There's been a few changes that I quite like. Stuff like reliability being removed. I like it. I like the inclusion of track stats. We've got to use different setups, but we'll come on to that one in this video. There's a lot of things in there, and first thing we're going to touch on is coins and entry fees for GPs. Now at the moment it is ridiculous in terms of the costings for GP entry. I mean, let's take for example champions. Now a lot of players last season wanted to play champions. They played champions throughout the year. Coming into 2024 we were hit with the massive bang, 150 million coins to play champions. Now you might have seen me enter that in week 2 when the first GP was released, and I ended up getting 5 Logan Sargent. Put it into perspective, my Challenger account last week, which cost 225k entry, came top 10 in Challenger and gained 21 Logan Sargent. So that just shows you how much of a rip-off the potential ask is to go and pay 150 million. Now coins in a general at the moment are pretty costly. Now we all know because of the track stats and the boost, it's really hard to win duels sometimes against real players, especially for free to play players as well. But you can see the most common series, probably series 8 where a lot of players are at the moment. Series 7, you're only winning 1.2 million to 590k a race, but some of the upgrades around there are pretty expensive and get pretty expensive. Now I know we've got plenty of coins, that is our main account, but if we came down to something like the Beast, which is going to Series 4, it's only a Series 9 part, but going to Series 4 here, 45 million, and there's some massive costs out there. This is just scratching the surface. 45 million, but if you go to Series 9, and if you think if you raced in Series 9, you're only getting 2.5 million a race. That is a lot of races to upgrade, and even if you go up one, you've still got to do 9 races pretty much in Series 10 to even be able to afford that one upgrade and try and enter a GP level. Now on my free-to-play account, I struggle every single week on the free-to-play. I lose some, I win some. It's really hard to gain coins and it's really hard to win. So we have to drop down the series, which obviously slows the progress up. Now, I would like to see the coins for entry fees for GP get lowered. There's too many players at the moment, can't get to champions because of the entry fee, and this is also causing chaotic groups. Now I'll try and put a picture on, or at least tell you at the moment. Last week there was like 32 players in one contender group that scored 376. Now you don't even get that at the end of the season. It is madness. And even in champions we've got cutoffs of 350 and 360 points. It is hell, and that is just bonkers for this stage. We're only in week 4, week 5 of this season. I mean, it's not even been out a month yet, the game. So things have got to change. AI difficulty have got to change, boosts have got to change, track stats have got to change as well. It has to for the future of this game. Now, we're going to go into a race here. We're going to look at how easy it is for us to just fly through, and that is because of track stats and boosts. It's key. Absolutely key. And what we do, we just make sure we got the right setup we have just before we mess that up. But it's nice to have different setups that we've got to use now, because that is what we really wanted from F1 Clash. And now I've got the old concurrent races error. But it's causing players for the entry fees, first and foremost, to be able to not space themselves out. Everybody is staying in Challenger, Junior, Contender, because one, they can't score that many points because they can't upgrade everything, but 2, they can't enter the higher GP anyway because of coins and the cutoffs. It is too ridiculous at this stage. So we're going to get into these track stats for Series 12, and we're going to show you the boosts. And I think one thing I want you to remember, and this is why it's got to change, we need to increase the AI difficulty, we need to reduce the power of boosts, and reduce the power of track stats. Now, boosts are currently 2.5 times stronger than the original base value. I definitely want to see that move down to around 1.5, and hopefully see some changes. Now, I'm going to struggle a little bit at this track because it is Imola, and I don't have a high power unit setup. I've got a speed and cornering setup, but not a power unit. But consider real life F1 here. We're 16th and 21st. In F1, at the moment, you would think, right, off the start, I'd be lucky to make 1 or 2 positions, wouldn't I? Simple as that. Nice and easy. That's all you're going to really make. Now, we set up a car nicely. We apply the boosts, and we may see some big overtaking because of the race start, track stats and boosts in this first lap. So all looks okay here, and then suddenly you get motoring, you get into a bit of free air, and if you keep pushing, and based on mine, this is Series 12, we are not a max Series 12 setup by any stretch of the imagination. We absolutely just fly through cars, and that is because of the boosts that we're using and the track stats that are available to us. So as long as you match the track stats, which we don't in this case, by the way, so we're just showing you how strong this is, even with non-track stat specific, and we're going to just keep cruising. Now, like I said, this track doesn't suit our car, but even in Champions with a lower setup, well, you should be at get 1500 team score in Champions to be recommended, to be a little bit competitive. We are in the 1300s with a bad setup because it's not power unit related. And look how we've just blasted through the field. Now, I'm not going to get much higher than this because I don't have the setup. But you can imagine if I did have the setup for power unit, it would be so much quicker than even what I'm running at the moment. As you can see, we get past Alex Albon. There's no way you should be able to climb this way through. I want to see it go back to levels where we struggle to score 20 points a race. Now, last season in GP, in the first few weeks, 160, 200 points was good enough to win a GP in Champions. This year, I'm pretty sure there was a 376 out there, or at least a 373. So, really, you can tell everything is running far too powerful at the moment. We should not be able to get a wrong setup here and blast through the pack like we are doing. Just shouldn't be able to. We should be really struggling. And don't worry, if we did have the setup like Monza, we can 1-2 Monza, no problem. But this is why it has got to change. We need to make some changes. And I know it sounds odd to say, make it harder for everybody, because that's what people want. People probably want it easier. But in reality, based on the GP groups we're seeing, everybody is scoring far too many points. Just huge points out there at the moment. And that has got to really change. We don't want to see 50 groups. We want to see competitive groups. But we don't want to see 50 players scoring all the same scores and then fastest lap being the decider. We don't want that to happen. So it's got to change, and I really hope that Hutch listen and see the feedback, but they've got to do something. They either need to turn down the track stats and the boosts, or turn up the AI defense, make the AI faster, put them on better setups. That is one of the two that they need to do. They need to lower the entry fees for GPs, make it a bit more accessible, and they need to make sure that coins are a little bit more winnable when it comes to duels, because it's so hard to progress, so hard to get the upgrade costs, especially when you've got PvP versus real players. There is obviously a lot of other changes that I'd love to see out there. I'd love to see GP rewards obviously have a minimum guarantee. So if you're racing Champions, You've got a guarantee of Series 9, maybe Series 8, as we lag all the way through. You shouldn't be able to get better rewards in Challenger than you do in a Champion GP. That just shouldn't be possible. So I'd love to see that. I know there's a few matchmaking. I'd like to see matchmaking be reduced. It's not as much of an impact for me. I mean, you might have seen me get a massive team score matchup yesterday, but I'd like to see that come a little bit closer to real racing. Make every race a thriller. And I think you do that by turning the AI up, turning the boost down, turning the track stats down, and making it a little tough to get through. Even if you're scoring 12 points and your rival's scoring 12 points, it's close. It's still the same as scoring 30 and 30. You still got that close battle. So in this one, you can see Albon coming through in P4. He's going to finish in P4. And that is with the wrong setup. We've used a boost that is track stat specific. And we have used a car which is not really track stat specific. And we've breezed it in Series 12 in P4 and P6. 40 points. And we are only like late 1300 team scores. You can go up to like 1800 team score. So if we're scoring that many points already, it's never going to be that great. So what I want to know from you, they are the changes that I'd like to see. Track stats, boosts, and AI difficulty be revamped, make it more challenging for players. Entry fees reduced, jewels you can earn more money, and I think you really need to be able to earn more boosts in the game as well. That's a big one for free-to-play and lower spending players. You need the premium boosts to be able to compete, because without them, it is very difficult. Maybe if they turn the boost power down, boosts are less likely and less favourable in duels. So let me know down below what you think to the changes. I want to see them changes happen. What do you want to see? Because you never know, Hutch might watch this video and they might just want to see what your feedback is.